ActionSA has launched its 2024 election manifesto today in Hammanskraal, just outside Pretoria. The party will be contesting the general election for the very first time. Newzroom Afrika's Hammanskraal is there and joins us live now. Ziniko, ActionSA promising South Africans a change, but what does that look like?
Well, that's what we're about to find out from the leader and president of ActionSA, Mr. Mashaba himself. You remember some of the key things that came out of his address is the issue of securing borders, but the issue now that has to do with black BEE, but also issues in the education sector, saying that he wants to cut down and clamp down on the influence of trade unions in our education system. Let's bring him in now so that he can elaborate more on those issues. And Mr. Mashaba, let's start with the issue of economic justice. You are saying that you are not happy with black economic empowerment. You are not the first one to say that. Other parties have also, discredited that policy as it is. But what are you going to do differently to ensure that that inclusive policy you were talking about is not abused, but also it has to serve the intended people?
Well, I think let me first of all start by clarifying one thing. We unapologetic as ActionSA that we need redress for black people, because black people are not poor because of their own making. Policy of redress is very important, but one thing that anyone cannot expect us to pursue the failed triple B of ANC that was used to empower ANC connections and cadres. ActionSA, we're proposing our own policy called inclusive economic empowerment, where all businesses will contribute towards an opportunity fund. This fund will be used for 30 years to really develop black communities, black areas which were ignored in the past during apartheid days, during the 30 years of ANC misrule, and make sure that we fund the businesses in the communities at favorable rates, so that we can really unleash the entrepreneurial spirit of black communities and those who were previously excluded during apartheid and ANC rule.
Let's talk about the issue of fighting corruption. You're also proposing that scorpions must be reintroduced, must be brought back. Talk to us about the need of that. Don't you think maybe if ActionSA had a solid plan, it would come up with something new, something that we've never seen before? But you're saying that scorpions must be brought back.
Well, look at whether you call it scorpions or whatever, but I think we need an independent Chapter 9 institution that is going to really deal with the issues of corruption. Whether we call it a scorpions or whatever name, but we need an independent unit that is going to be able to prosecute without any fear or favor. Because right now, obviously, we had the scorpions, which was doing a fantastic job, but because ANC people were once involved in corruption, decided to dissolve it. So what we are saying is we need that unit back, ensure that it operates free of political interference, so that they must be able to prosecute without any fear or favor, including the National Prosecuting Authority. Look at cases which I brought when I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, which some of the cases as clear as daylight uncovered 34 billion rands of fraud and corruption involving some of the senior ANC people. But up to today, the National Prosecuting Authority is not doing anything. So we need those units to operate without any fear or favor. We need our policemen and women to be led by ethical people. We cannot have police being led by criminals. That's when obviously they get demotivated. We need to capacitate our police stations, give them the tools of trade. Right now, most of the police stations, they don't have vehicles to start off with. The proper ones, they don't have. You go to a police station at night during load shedding. Police, how do you expect police to operate like that? You look at the type of training that is being given to our policemen and women. I think we need professional police that must be able to really deal with sophisticated cases.
Let's talk about the issue of poverty. ActionSA is also proposing the issue of stimulus, especially for the much vulnerable citizens residents who are subject to poverty on a daily basis. How are you going to do that? ActionSA has been doing well in Gauteng, but when you talk about the Eastern Cape, you talk about the Free State and KZN, those rural provinces are hard hit by poverty. What are you offering them that's different from the 350 grand, which you've seen? Because you are also saying that there's a need for social grant.
Well, without any doubt, when we have 54% of our people living below the breadline, out of ANC wanting to keep them poor, what we need to do, we must stimulate the economy. Babelech industrial area, Harankua, factories, we need to open these factories so that the revenue base, the tax base of our country must uplift, so that people, instead of giving people 350 rands, because there's no way that any human being in this country...
But where is the money going to come from? Because you're saying that 350 is not enough.
I told you about stimulating the economy. Make sure that there's factories in Babelech, because those factories belong to us. More than 50% of the factories, actually more than 65% of the factories in Babelech are closed down in Harankua. Open these factories, give them to the private sector, because once you give them to the private sector, you stimulate the economy. Government will be able to collect more money. And what will happen, and as I said during my speech, that for us as ActionSA, don't really judge us about the 19 million people who are on social grants. Judge us on a yearly basis how many people we take off that. But the only way you can reduce this number is by providing job opportunities. That's why you need to take the stronghold of unions, COSATU, closing down factories so that there's commercial activity, so that our youth can go out and work and open businesses. Don't allow businesses in our communities to be run by foreign nationals who are in our country.
So we're talking about foreign nationals, Dr. Mashaba. Borders have been something of great interest to you personally since your time as the mayor in Johannesburg. Now, government through the Department of Home Affairs has introduced some new legislation, some new acts that are going through parliamentary processes, and the white paper as well in terms of integrating all those border management policies. Have you had a look at them, and what's your take on how government is proposing to solve that issue?
Those are ANC gimmicks. As I said in one of my interviews during the week, I said, please, instead of writing white papers, black papers, just go to Messine, the Bay Bridge, go and see how porous those borders are. You don't need to write any paper. You don't have to be blind. Even a blind person can see.
But you need, sorry to cut you, but you need some form of law to legislation to police your thing.
Our current legislation right now, if we're serious about border management, just applying the current laws and putting the right people and having the political will, I'm telling you, we can sort out South Africa's problems. Deal with the corruption in Home Affairs. Make sure that those responsible for giving people fraudulent documents, deal harshly with them. Instead of wasting time writing papers, deal with the corruption of officials, including, remember Malusi, when he was the Minister of Home Affairs, giving Gupta's fraudulent documentation. So you don't need to write papers. Lock up Malusi, because he breached the laws of this country by giving the Gupta's the fraudulent papers. So don't really play gimmicks with us. Just apply the current laws and have the political will.
Okay. You are not the first party, Mr. Mashaba, to lead a party that's going to contest elections for the first time. We saw COPE, we saw EFF, we saw many other parties, especially those that do not do well, in their second attempt at the national and provincial level. What are you going to do what are you going to do differently to ensure that your parties do not become a one election wonder, so that you're able to grow? What are you offering that's different to what has been offered to the people before?
Well, I think if you look at my track record, when I became the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, the experts and the commentators said I'm a biggest joke to ever run to come into the political field. What happened to the city of Johannesburg in the 3 years? And look at our policies approved in September, from the 12th to the 14th of September. We're coming out with revolutionary, bold policies that are going to really transform our country. We are going to deal with ethical leadership. We are going to deal harshly with corruption. We are going to deal harshly with murderers, rapists, and all those drug dealers. We're going to stimulate our economy to ensure that businesses come and invest in our country, because we are going to take the steering hold of unions on our economy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That's Herman Mashaba, who leads ActionSA, the party that was launching its election manifesto here in Hammanskraal, north of Pretoria, saying that he's ready, but also offering something that's going to be different to other parties which have failed to continue and sustain their success after their first attempt at provincial and national elections. That's it for us. We'll back to you for now.
Our reporter Zineko Mhlaba, he's out in Hammanskraal.